Ravenous 1 consists of Their Finest Hour, How to Make a Killing in Time Travel, World of Damnation, and Sweet Salvation. So Ravenous continues on from where Doom Coalition ended about a year ago, where, if you didn't know, the Doctor and Liv are now separated from Helen, as she is now trapped kind of with the 11, and the Doctor and Liv are now off to find them. So that's kind of where this box set starts, with the Doctor and Liv on the mission to find them. Now, of course, they do get a little bit sidetracked in a way, and they end up on a few kind of standalone adventures. I really did like that Ravenous started with more standalone stories, as it felt like it was just like the start of a new season of Doctor Who, where, you know, they have to continue on from last season's kind of storylines, but they also start to get into the new storyline that's going to be present. And we do get glimpses of what Ravenous is. We do see a little thing in there in the finale of this box set, so definitely gets me excited to see where it goes. Now, the standalone stories were pretty good. Of course, Their Finest Hour, I thought, was really, not the best Doctor Who story for, a starter for a box set, but it was a really good story. Of course, I really did enjoy hearing the 8th Doctor interact with Winston Churchill. I thought that was just a great interaction. And, of course, Winston Churchill acted the same way he did when he saw the 11th Doctor in Victory of the Daleks, as he wants, come on, Doctor, you have that TARDIS. And I really just thought, he's always been that way. I want the TARDIS to win the war, and he continues on with that. And the Doctor says, no, you can't have it, Winston. One thing I found really cool was how Liv Chenka didn't really know anything about Winston Churchill. So she was just like, Winston who? She didn't know who this person was. Winston Churchill was really good. It was great hearing Ian McNeice back. And the story itself was pretty good. John Dorney did craft a pretty good story. I thought the monsters of it, or the villains, if you will, they weren't the strongest, but they were still a very interesting kind of villain, and it definitely gave the Doctor, some challenge in a way. And yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting also that they kind of separated the Doctor and Liv a little bit. So also, about the story, which I thought was kind of interesting, is how you get to see the Doctor, saying, it's going to take a while for the diagnostic to figure out where Helen and the 11 are. And, Liv just wants to get on with it. She wants to find Helen. And the Doctor is saying, let's just take its time. The next story in the box set, which is How to Make a Killing in Time Travel, does divert them again, but this time is because there's a disruptance in the time vortex, which lands the Doctor and Liv on a space station where a person is inventing time travel. Now, of course, this is probably my favorite story in this box set. The characters were just memorable. I thought the main kind of person who was in the time traveling thing was great. It was just like she did something to the person who's funding this, Mr. Morningstar, and I like how she's trying to cover it up, and it's definitely like a mystery, and the Doctor has to figure out what's going on with this, and it's just a very hilarious story, and the characters are just hilarious in it. Now, of course, this is another standalone story, also written by John Dorney, and of course, you still see the Doctor and Doctor and Liv on another adventure, but Liv still wants to go find Helen. I really thought this one was just it was just one of those stories that you wanted to listen to it to the very end because it was so good, and I had to re-listen to it because I still think it's my favorite one. So the last two stories in this box set, World Damnation and Sweet Salvation, are basically like a two-parter, and this is where we finally get to see Helen again. And Helen is now in a prison with the 11, so you kind of see their interactions, and she's definitely changed a little bit since the Doctor and Liv have, last seen her, and the Doctor and Liv have finally found their friend, but there's some things not going quite right in this prison place. What was really cool was that the Candyman made a reappearance in this box set. Yes, the candy creature from the 1980s is back in the story. And he's definitely not the same as he was in that story. He's more humanoid looking, and he's definitely a sinister and definitely as psychotic as he was, which goes right along with him and the 11 teaming up. Kind of those two together are like a mad, crazy time. And of course, hearing the 11 again and all the voices coming out was really good. And I really thought this was just a really fun two-part story. It was definitely great. I thought the Candyman was great. The Doctor and Liv going on there, solving what's going on, and reuniting with Helen was a great story. And I really did enjoy these two stories. So like I said a little bit earlier, there is hints of what Ravenous is. and we see it just a little bit in the Sweet Salvation, and it definitely makes you wonder, okay, what's going on? What is Ravenous? And I'm really excited to see where this heads to in the next few box sets. Ravenous 1, definitely a good box set. There was a lot of good stories to it. It definitely introduced the next plot point in this box sets, but also finished up some of the stuff that Doom Coalition started. And I guess that is one of the biggest kind of negatives in this box set, is if you didn't listen to Doom Coalition, you're not going to understand that kind of, that plot point of Helen and the 11 being separated from the Doctor, because that was big in Doom Coalition. So if you don't know that, it could be kind of weird to start it, but if you did know about that ahead of time, I think you could listen to this one, because it does start a whole new era. I'm also very kind of curious how they're doing it. I really think the idea of doing more kind of standalone stories with a more looser kind of storyline for Ravenous, I think, is a really kind of cool idea, because it makes it seem like a normal series of Doctor Who in a way, where you got some episodes that are more standalone, then you got some stories that relate to like the main plot of the season. So I think it could be really kind of cool to see where they go with it. So yeah, Ravenous 1, I definitely think it was a good box set. I would recommend you guys, if you thought Doom Coalition was not the best, Ravenous 1 was a good start. Interesting mystery that I think will be kind of interesting to see how it unfolds in the future. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this little review of Ravenous 1, and I'll see you guys in the next video. If you like this video, click the button that looks like that, and subscribe to see every of our videos every Monday and Wednesday at 7 o'clock Pacific time, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.